Hi there and welcome to the Telly Show. Now I have a very exciting episode in store, certainly if you're a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan. This week I got to chat to James Marsters, aka Spike from Buffy. Now I'm a huge fan of the series, so this was like all my Christmases at once. I think I kept it together though, just about. That's coming up in a bit, but first my TV picks for the week. First up is Cheat, which kicks off on Monday and airs for 4 consecutive nights this week. It stars Catherine Kelly and Molly Windsor, and it's a psychological thriller that will have you hooked. It begins with a seemingly simple premise. A university lecturer, Dr. Leah Dale, is convinced one of her students has cheated on an assignment. Sounds pretty innocent, but it is not. Things escalate and fast. My second pick is on Sky Arts on St. Patrick's Day, where Brendan Gleeson directs and stars in his first short film called Psychic. It's a family affair too, as it also stars his sons Donal and Breen Gleeson. Brendan plays a washed-up psychic forced out of retirement by his conniving sons and made to go on tour. This is only 25 minutes long and worth it alone for seeing all of that talented Gleeson dynasty on screen together. It's Spike time! I can't actually tell you just how delighted I was to get to chat to James Marsters. I adored Buffy the Vampire Slayer, still do, and Spike was always my favourite character. James Marsters was in town recently for the Dublin Comic Con and was nice enough to come in for a chat. I got to talk to him about everything and anything to do with Buffy the Vampire Slayer, including how his role went from what was supposed to be just a few episodes to being with the series until the very end, as well as his favourite episode and his absolute worst day on set. James was so honest and thoughtful with his answers and just such a lovely guy. I'm still pinching myself that we got to have this chat. Take a look. James, welcome to Ireland and the Telly Show.
It's good to be here.
Is this your first time here?
Yes.
How has that happened and what are you thinking of it?
I've been all around the world and this is my first time coming to Ireland and I don't know why, because I've always wanted to come.
Yeah.
I guess I've just been waiting for someone to invite me.
Yeah, and now Dublin Comic Con is on and it's the perfect excuse.
Yeah.
Getting to your big role that I really want to talk to you about is Spike in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
I was just telling you already that I'm a huge fan. And one thing that took me by surprise, it was in the years afterwards, is that you're not actually British, James.
No.
Yeah.
And I was popular over here.
Yes.
But I was British. Yeah. You weren't like, oh, I like him except for the fact that he's British.
we got over that just for you.
Right? Yeah. That's great. Yeah. No, I'm only British if you pay me.
Why was the character British?
Joss, the guy who thought up the whole Buffy
Joss
universe,
Whedon,
Joss Whedon, he wanted a punk rock vampire.
Right.
And punk started in London in the 70s, when a whole generation woke up to the fact that their parents had made no room for them in the economy or the culture, and they rebelled against that. And he told me that he wanted the Sid Vicious of the vampire set. And the thing is, I'm a punk rocker from the States, and I grew up in the 70s.
Yeah.
I remember watching The Clash in San Francisco. I remember helping the audience destroy the Cow Palace.
Nice.
They didn't let another rock show in there for 20 years because of the damage we did to the Cow Palace.
Very punk rock. You've done the research for this role then.
Yeah, like I was like, Joss, you don't want Sid, man. And he's like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay, you want Sid? I'll give you Sid. Here's Sid. Girls like me because I've got a nice face and a good figure. I'm like, Sid was an idiot, man. Sid didn't play on the album. He ruined the tour. That's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
And I said, if you want anybody, you want like Johnny. Do you want Johnny Rotten? And he's like, well, whatever. Just give me something punk. And I was like, okay. Yeah.
And you were only ever supposed to be in it for a few episodes.
Yeah, I was Drusilla's boy toy. I was, the idea was that Buffy and Angel were finally going to sleep together.
Yes.
And then Angel was going to go evil, and then to prove that he was the big bad, he was going to kill me. So in order to be the big bad, you have to kill the big bad. So they built me up to be really cool, just so that Angel could look really cool when he became evil. And the whole point being, of course, that we're going to break Buffy's heart. That's the overarching thing. And so Angel kills me and takes up with Drusilla so that Buffy can get her heart broken. And I probably wouldn't have gotten the role if Juliet Landau hadn't taken to me.
Really?
We just kind of clicked in the audition because we were both from theater, and it worked out, and that was the only reason. But yeah, I was supposed to die in 5.
Yeah.
And they kept me around, yeah.
And they kept, because you kind of were one of those enduring presences throughout, you know, you might dip in and out throughout the college years, but then they really kind of found a role for you more in the later seasons of the show.
Yeah, you know, what happened was they lost Cordelia.
Yes, yeah.
Cordelia was the character who said, "Buffy, you're stupid, and we're all about to die." And
True.
and she was taken over to the spin-off Angel when Angel started as a spin-off show, and they took her over. So they needed a character to tell Buffy that she was stupid. And Joss was talking to Sarah about who it should be, and Sarah said, "What about Spike?" And they tried me out, and that's why early on. And I guess this is season 4. Early on, you see me running around trying not to burn to death in the sunshine with a smoking blanket.
Yeah.
Because they're just trying to get me into the room so I can tell Buffy she's a moron.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I think we all realized that this is not going to work long term. We can't keep running him in with a smoking blanket. It's going to get old. And I thought I was going to get fired. I thought I was going to lose a really good job at that point, yeah.
Yeah, and I suppose at the end of season 5, when Buffy died, was there any kind of worry then that the season wouldn't continue on, or did you always know it would come back for season 6?
Oh yeah.
The fans didn't know.
I'm on a show now, and we're waiting to hear if we're getting
season 3
picked
of
up.
Runaways, yes, yeah.
And we're waiting to see if we get a season 3. And I didn't realize how spoiled we were on Buffy, because we heard that we were going to get picked up for a new season by the time we were midway through the season that we were filming. We were never in any doubt that we were going to go on. In fact, the show would have gone beyond 7 years if they could have talked Sarah into doing more.
Really?
But the problem is that they toasted that poor woman. They burned her to death. We worked for 12 to 20 hours every week, every day on Buffy, and she was in almost every scene. And so by the time season 7, we were filming season 7, and they're throwing so much money at her. Come back. She's like, "I am marrying Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
And I'm taking it easy. It's not about money. I want to live."
Yeah,
So they couldn't talk.
And I mean, I suppose at that point the character had died, had come back to life. You know, there was so much had happened to Buffy.
Yeah.
And for your character in Buffy, then, how did you feel in season 6 when you read about when you first read the script about your romance with Buffy?
Oh yeah, I was like, no way.
Yeah.
In hell.
Yeah.
Like, I remember going to Joss and you know the character Riley?
Yes,
Remember him?
yeah.
So they were always taking his shirt off, and I remember going to Joss and saying, "Joss, if you want to do that to me, can you please give me some lead time? Because I don't want to be like Mark, like you just hire a guy and just rip his shirt off."
Yeah,
because it's like being in shape for life is one thing, but being in shape so that you look good on camera is like a whole nother level.
Really?
The camera actually, how do you say, it's just, you have to put so much light on a set to film it that when you have that much light, it just destroys definition. And so to have the kind of body that still looks defined under a movie lighting setting is just, it's a whole nother world. Like you have to build up to it. You have to have a special diet, and it's a big deal. So I was like, can you just tell me, give me a couple months so I can give you what you want? But that's how we do it here, Joss.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh yeah, well, summer's coming up, so you're gonna fall in love with Buffy. So get ready." And I was like, "Oh, that's a great idea." But of course, we're never going to sleep together because that would be ridiculous. And he said, no, you're going to sleep together a lot, actually. And,
a lot,
and he
actually.
just turned and walked away, and I was like, what? You know, because I didn't really, I could see why Spike would fall for Buffy, but I had no clue why she would fall for him. It didn't make sense to me at all. Yeah.
I suppose she kind of had to spiral into that kind of self-destructive mode, and then, you know, Spike was the ideal man in that situation.
Yeah.
And I remember watching it as well and being fairly taken aback by how spicy the sex scenes were between you two. I mean, it was all fairly, the teenage romance with Angel was very much, you know, holding hands, staring into each other's eyes, but this was like, you know, chemistry.
What happened was that the show jumped networks. It went from the WB to the UPN in the States, and we were the only show to jump before, like, without getting canceled first, because we weren't getting resurrected by someone. Joss actually just said, we're going elsewhere.
Right.
And it was the very beginning of the UPN network, and they had no standards and practices office, which is the office to tell artists, no, that's too naughty.
Right.
You can't do that. And so the writing staff recognized they probably had one season to do anything.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you saw that kind of content. And
Yeah.
I remember telling Joss, like, isn't this for young people? Like,
Oh, we loved it. We were fine.
doing, you know? And he goes, well, that's how you grow up. You watch television that's inappropriate.
Yeah. And I think, it was, but it worked so well for those two characters. And also, another scene I wanted to talk to you about, I suppose it was probably the most shocking scene, I guess, for me anyway, watching it, was the bathroom scene.
Yeah.
How did you feel about that when you read that script?
Not good. I don't watch that kind of content. Like, if it pops up on television, I have to turn it off, or it'll ruin my week. If a movie has it, I'd never go see that movie. I don't read books with that kind of stuff. It just, because of my history, it's something that I don't want to inflict myself with. I remember going on set and telling the person who wrote the episode, you don't really understand what you put actors through. Like, you write this stuff, but I have to live it.
Yeah.
I remember curling up in the fetal position in between takes when we were filming it, and just, I had this idea that if I just hit my head against the concrete floor, I could fly through the floor and get out of here.
Oh gosh.
And it was the worst day of my professional career. It was horrible.
Yeah.
Sent me into therapy, which turned out to be a really good thing, because I'm a lot happier now than before. So it's all good.
Yeah.
What I'll tell you, though, is that, and this is going to get into the secret that I promised that I would tell you. This is the secret of Buffy writing, is that Joss asked his writing staff to come up with their worst day. The day that they don't talk about, the day that they hurt someone, or the day that they were hurt so badly that it's their dark secret, the one that keeps you up at night, you know, and then slap fangs on top of that and tell the whole world. And so it is a consistent act of vulnerability and bravery every episode of one of the writers, and there were 9 of them, coming up with one of those memories. And in this circumstance, for Seeing Red was the name of the episode. One of the female writers in college, actually, her boyfriend broke up with her, and she showed up at his apartment thinking that if we sleep together one more time, everything will be fixed.
Right.
And she just threw herself on him, and he had to physically push her off and throw her out. And it was one of her worst memories of her life.
Yeah.
And I think that they thought that since Buffy is a superhero and has the ability to throw Spike through a wall if she wants, that they could flip the sexes. The other part of that is that Joss was getting ever more frustrated by the fact that the whole season was about the fact that Buffy was desperate, and you talked about getting self-destructive. She was with the wrong guy. Spike was the wrong guy. He was a soulless vampire at that point. And this was not a relationship that he wanted the audience to celebrate at all.
Right.
And he kept having us do things that were more and more disturbing, and the audience kept saying, oh, this is fabulous, more of that. And he's like, what do I have to do to convince the audience that this is the wrong choice for her? And he kept going further and further and further and further until we got to that point. I mean, and at that point, they just pulled out all the stops.
They really, because it was a turning point, because the character of Spike was always someone you sort of loved to hate. And then after that, it was like, oh God, this is the dark side of Spike. Were you worried then about how your character could kind of redeem himself after something like that? Because that was, I mean, the catalyst then for him to go looking for his soul. And, you know, were you worried about the kind of legacy of Spike even with that?
You know, at that point, I mean, it was very traumatic for me to do that. And at that point, I was just like, well, guys, if you can figure it out, figure it out. If you can't, I'm gone. Like I went into a depression, so it was kind of like, whatever happened. Like it kind of might have been a relief if they would have gotten rid of me. I'm glad they didn't. But and again, I'm not complaining. Like I understand why Joss needed to do that. I understand why the writer thought of that. I'm happy for it all. And frankly, as any artist, you're doing your best stuff when you're outside of your comfort zone. If you're too happy and comfortable about something, you're probably not brave enough about what you're doing. So it was a gift in that way, and but it was hard.
Yeah. And what did you think about Spike's ultimate journey into the finale of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or what did you think of how it ended altogether?
Oh, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
He made a little step toward redeeming himself. Like a lot of people are like, well, at the end he saved the whole world. I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't realize that I was going to have to do that. Like it was kind of a surprise. What? Oh my God, and I'm dead. So I didn't sacrifice myself for the world, but I think the thing that redeems Spike for me is when she says, I love you, and he says, no you don't, but thanks for saying so. Because I think you can see that Spike knows that he's not good enough for her. One
question I really want to know, we've talked about probably I suppose the worst episode for you filming, but what is your favourite episode of Buffy of all time?
Oh my God, there's so many.
There is so many. I don't know how I choose, so I don't know why I'm inflicting this question on you.
Wow. I am tempted to say The Body.
Oh yeah.
Actually, because there was no laughs, there were no special effects, there was no music, there was no stunts, there's no makeup, there was no magic. It was just a story of a young woman that was losing her parent to cancer or to death.
Natural causes, I guess, something that she could,
And I think that we proved that we didn't need any of the monsters to be compelling. And I was really impressed with it. Also, I got the week off. So
because you weren't in that episode.
So that's great.
Added bonus.
I felt really well rested for that.
I've actually written about it before, and I do think that episode is probably one of the best TV examples of a person dealing with a sudden death. Just from how it was filmed, how the immediate reaction, it just totally was honed in on Buffy and her face and her reactions, and that they just didn't ham it up at all, or they didn't even. But there was still sort of elements of humor at times. It was perfect. I love that episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of episodes where I was feeling like Joss was getting tired of being told by other people why he was such a good writer. Because I think that too many people told him that your dialogue is amazing, and that's why you're good. Because that's why he did Hush. It's like, oh really? That's why I'm good, huh? I'll do an episode where no one talks at all. Ha. There's a bunch of those.
There's big news in the Buffy world, and that there's a reboot on the way. It's just very exciting. It's going to be a new actress playing another Slayer. I don't think it's going to be Buffy.
Nope.
What are your feelings about this universe coming back to life again?
So relieved that it's not Buffy.
Really?
Because the ego in me would be like, oh yeah, try to recast Spike. But the realist in me knows that there's someone out there right now that can play a really great Spike, and they would find him, and I would just be like, oh no.
I don't think that's true.
Well, but I think just even for the audience, I think that what I was hearing when it initially came out, and people were worried that it would be another Buffy cast and they would retread it, was that it was done well the first time, and why do it again? And
the writer wrote a really great tweet that I thought I kind of really was like, okay, it's actually in safe hands. Where she was like, this was my show, I grew up with this, I don't want to do anything to taint anyone's memories of the original Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, like when you have a writer that grew up with the material. Like, I think of Sam Raimi with Spider-Man. That was his formative thing. And I think of Peter Jackson with Lord of the Rings. Like, when you grow up with something, it's in your DNA. And you've spent so many nights fantasizing about how to fill in that world. So that it's... you really bring your creativity to it, but at the same time, you respect it so much that you keep to the original... strength of the material. And so the fact that that's her Star Wars, that's the one that
I loved that. That's her Star Wars. I was like, it was my Star Wars.
And also she is a very successful writer-producer already.
Yeah, she's done a lot. Yeah.
And also the fact that Joss is involved. You know, I think it all means that there's going to be a really interesting take on Buffy.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think that the world needs a Slayer right now.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a few demons over in my country.
Yes.
Buffy goes to Washington.
Yeah.
Oh
Buffy
my
goes
God.
to Washington. I love
Mr. Smith goes to Washington with a stake.
And James, if they give you a call and say we want to bring back Spike, now I don't know. I mean, I know you're a bit older now, and the argument has been that vampires are ageist. But I'm sorry, have you seen Samuel L. Jackson and Captain Marvel? They can do anything these days.
If they put half the budget of the entire project into making me youthful, then I guess we could talk about that. And I got, you know, I remember telling Joss when we were almost done with Angel, I went to him and I said, you know, if you have 5 lines or 50, wherever I am in the world, just give me a call, I'll come running. But if you want me to play Spike, you have 7 years.
Yeah.
The clock is ticking on his face. So, and technology has come along, so I would never say no.
Yeah.
My feeling would be that you'd have to make a way to make him youthful. An aging, like Spike looks really good for his age, just doesn't have. But Spike, like coming in and seeing Buffy, who is a human being and has aged, and him just going, no, you look fabulous.
Yeah.
No, you look great. You haven't aged a day. You know, there's a lot of comedy there.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
But him coming in with gray blonde hair.
It would be so good though. I seen you met up a lot of the cast just last week in Portland. Yeah. Do you guys keep in touch? I was actually wondering this. Apparently there's an Avengers WhatsApp group, so I was wondering, is there a Buffy WhatsApp group?
No, we don't have a WhatsApp group. No, I wish we did. But yeah, like there's so many good people were in that show. I see them mostly at conventions.
Yeah, would you guys hang out afterwards, or is it kind of just like seeing an old work colleague?
Do you want the truth, or do you want like...
I want the truth.
Okay, the truth is, this is very hard for kids who come in to either a TV show or a play. Like, actors, we depend on each other. You have to... You can't be your best self as an actor if the other actor isn't good. You are also doing things with each other that are very vulnerable. You have to trust each other very deeply, and you have to establish that trust and that connection very quickly in order for the whole thing to work. So actors are really good at forming a bond within the company that they're working with. And then when it's over, we actors go to the next job and form that bond with a new group.
Right.
And so kind of when it's over, it's kind of over.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very hard for children when they come into that situation, because they feel like they found the best friends in their life. And they often kind of get heartbroken when
it's all over.
Yeah. So you have to be careful when there's a younger person to kind of keep in contact with them and not betray them in that way. But when you've been in the business for a while, you know what it is. And it's not bad. It's just it's a beautiful thing about being an actor, is that you have to actually like the people you work with. You have to find a way to like them. If you don't initially, you have to figure it out. But I love seeing people and just kind of catching up with them. Like I did an episode of Supernatural. This is years ago with Charisma Carpenter. And I remember we were backstage talking about our kids, and I just suddenly just go, I am so sorry. I've been judging you for years. I thought you were horrible. I thought you were evil because I thought you were like Cordelia. You're such a good actor. But you're a sweetheart. And she was like, I always wondered why you never talked to me. And I was just like, I thought you were that cheerleader. And I'm like, I'm not into that. I'm a punk rocker. I avoided her like the plague.
Oh, God.
And so I never gave her a chance. So it was only when we played a different character I saw it.
Yeah. And who was your favorite character besides Spike? I'm going to say Buffy as well on that show.
Giles.
Really?
Yeah. In a second, he was the best actor on the show. I remember when I first shot with Tony Head, I was just coming off of stage, and I was very proud of myself. I always used to say, like, there are actors, and they're doing stage, and there are people who want to be stars, and they're in Hollywood. Big difference. So I came to Hollywood Hollywood with my nose up in the air, thinking that I had it all. And I remember shooting with Tony and thinking, like, old man, would you wake up? Like, I'm going to mop the floor with you, baby. You better like get some coffee in your system because I'm just steal this scene. And then I saw the scene that we shot, and he absolutely ruled that scene.
Really?
He was like a magnet, and I was just the other guy in the room. And I remember thinking, I have to rethink acting for camera. Like the toolbox that I have for theater, it just doesn't really apply in this new situation. And I'm so lucky to be on a show with someone who knows the new toolbox so well. And I went back to school, and it was the school of Anthony Head, and I would just go to the set and watch him work. Even if I wasn't in the scene, I would just sit on a box and watch to see what he did, or actually what he didn't do. He also was there's a scene in most stories, either television or movies. It's called the Exposition Scene, and it's the scene where all of the information is dumped out to the audience, so that now you know the world, you know the situation, and now we can have a story. But it's usually a hard lift. Like, no actor wants to do the exposition scene. It's just a thankless role. And it's usually the whole audience is like, oh, okay, now we're learning. Now I'm in school, waiting for the story to happen. And they would give that to Tony every single time, every show. And he used to complain about it. But the problem was he did it so well.
It's so funny now that you're saying it. I'm like, he was always the one who explained the big bad or the monster of the week.
Yeah, but he was so compelling when he was doing it. He didn't realize that, oh, you're in class now, waiting for the story to happen. It was actually still a story. He was incredible. Yeah.
And you were speaking earlier about Runaways. We don't have Hulu over here. It is on the Sci-Fi Channel, though. Yeah. But I'm assuming Hulu are going to renew it for a third season.
Yeah. It like the head of Hulu said that they love the show. They love watching it. They love the numbers, which they don't share with the public, but apparently the numbers are incredibly good. We just haven't gotten the official word, which is, it's okay.
Any day now.
I couldn't be more confident.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing that and Runaways, and maybe one day, possibly, in the Buffy reboot. But if not,
I'll be like, hey, Buffy, how are you doing? Oh, you look great, love. It's perfect.
I don't know. I'll keep working out, drinking my wheatgrass.
Well, thank you for being such an entertaining, amazing character on my TV screen in my formative years. And I hope you enjoy your time in Ireland. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
That's it from me. Thank you so much to my guest, James Marsters. It truly was a pleasure. Don't forget, you can listen to the full, unedited interview as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify. Catch you next week.